welcome to the CCIR Student Research Spotlight. Today, it's our pleasure to have with us a former student, Audrey Jacobson, who worked on a seminar with Dr. Devlin from the University of Cambridge on the post-war political economy of Britain. Welcome, Audrey.
Hi, thank you for having me.
And I guess I should do a quick introduction myself. My name is Oliver. I'm the marketing coordinator over at CCIR, and I also happen to be a PhD student in philosophy over at Georgetown. Anyway, Audrey, would you be so kind as to tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, so I'm Audrey. I'm a junior in high school in California, and I did my research paper on Britain and its relationship with the EU and the European Economic Community, and how it kind of played out, went in and out of the EU and stuff like that.
That's super cool. So when you were first selecting your course, what drew you to this this post-war Britain course?
So I'm super into politics in the US, I guess just because that's where I live. Probably I would be anywhere. And then I also really like journalism, and I love staying informed and watching the news and stuff like that. And so this course really seemed like it was interesting because you can be informed about something. It doesn't have to be current. This is history, right? And it helps you understand stuff in the present. And so, for instance, like with World War II, there's a lot of stuff about that in this course because it's post-World War II. And you kind of need that to understand what goes on in the world today. So it's really good background information to have, super interesting.
So your project was on Britain's relationship with the EU throughout like the late 20th century. But obviously, the big thing for us now would be Brexit. And Britain's current sort of negotiations with the EU in terms of their trade deal. So did you explore the present side of things at all with your mentor, or how did the course sort of help you understand politics? Sort of new insights did you gain into the political situation in the UK?
Yeah, so we focused on that a little bit, mostly toward the end. We talked about I guess we talked about Brexit a little bit and how Scotland and Wales and some of the, I guess, most of the other countries in the UK don't really want to leave the European Union. It's really only England that's kind of pushing for that. And so there's kind of this like divide, and some people in Scotland like want to leave the UK so that they can go back to be a part of the EU. And so there's kind of this division within the UK. So it's not just the UK leaving Europe. It's like part of the UK, or maybe some of it, or something like that.
Tell me a bit about how you came to your specific research topic within sort of the broader structure of the course, because I imagine the post-war politics, economics, and international relations of the UK is going to be a huge topic. I imagine you guys talk about all sorts of crazy things like post-war reconstruction and all of that. Tell me a bit about sort of your experience of the whole of the course, of how this sort of overview of the politics and economics, and how within that you came to find your specific angle.
So what we did was a combination of lectures, readings, and essays. So we would have a lecture with Dr. Devlin, and he would kind of cover a bit of history every class. So that's kind of where we covered the basic politics and stuff like that, to kind of learn about the entirety of the topics of the course. And then we would have essays and readings for our TA. And the readings would kind of be a supplement of the lectures, and then the essays would be a supplement of the readings. So they were based on the readings, as well as occasionally we had a video to watch or something. We once watched like a speech from Margaret Thatcher, something like that. And then we were given a list of possible questions we could choose for the research paper. And then we just chose one, I guess, and that one was really interesting to me. That's kind of more the international relations aspect, because I think lots of countries are interesting, right? And so I think Europe is really cool. And so getting to learn about more than just Britain in that case, and sort of what other countries may have thought, and what they may have thought of Britain specifically, and British politicians. I know some of them didn't like them very much. That's always something that's kind of maybe a bit odd, strange, but very interesting to know.
Yeah, I mean, the international relations of post-war Europe and Britain is super interesting. And before sort of going into philosophy, I've always thought that I was going to be a history major because I had no idea what philosophy was, but I'm super into history as well. I just thought to ask, was there any particular paper or lecture that you sort of remember with, I don't know, special fondness? I don't know, like what was your favorite paper that you read, or that your favorite lecture that you received from Dr. Devlin?
From Dr. Devlin, we had a lecture on the other parts of the UK that weren't Britain, so like Scotland, Wales, like as I said before, and I hadn't really realized because I didn't know a ton about Britain before, and so I hadn't realized that those other countries were like really related. And I like Scotland has its own parliament, and obviously I guess people know that, but I didn't know that. And so I was like, oh wow, this is so interesting, because people, like, they're not all just like England. There's like more stuff that happens there. And then when we had a supervision with our TA the next day, he was talking about his favorite like foods from Scotland. And he told us about this one, but I can't remember what it was, but it sounded really gross. And so that was like a cultural, like, interesting thing that I got to have from that topic.
Might
So
it be haggis?
oh, it was that. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, and if you're interested at all in subnational UK politics, I'd really recommend you look up some YouTube videos of the Irish Parliament. There are some hilarious videos of the Irish Parliament. The UK Parliament is already crazy. Like they shout at each other and they sort of boo each other, but in Ireland it's wild. But yeah, I'd encourage you to take a look at that just for fun.
Well, definitely.
Another question, I want to sort of shift to the latter part of your experience in doing the research paper. Did you learn about research paper under an expert in his field, and who's a university lecturer at Cambridge, and writing an essay at your high school? Like, what sort of differences did you feel? What did you learn about the writing process and researches? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you cut out a little bit during that, but I think I got the main gist of the question. So
Okay.
they gave us, or Dr. Devlin gave us like a very large list of sources that we could use. And there was so many options, and they were all like mostly excerpts from books, or papers written by other, I guess, very learned scholars from that field. And so there must have been like 60 or something, and I think I used 10 maybe. That might be a bit off, but I chose a lot of them by a few of the same authors, because they covered a lot of information, I guess, in different chapters of their books, and so each source was like a chapter. And so I ended up like not doing a whole lot of variety, but a lot of varied information within the same sources. And then I think you asked about writing an essay in high school. So when we write essays, we really would only write one in like maybe English or history. And most of the time they're timed, because we're preparing for AP test with the College Board. We normally don't have time to prepare anything because like you can't know the prompt before, but they give you sources for some of them, but there's no time to analyze it, and there's no time to like really understand it super well. And that's what I find really nice about writing Cambridge essays, is you have the time you need to understand the sources and go into depth and really dig deeper into what they mean. And you actually learn something from them, whereas in high school, maybe you might not have that opportunity. So I think that's something good. And then one other thing that is just interesting to me is that you're allowed to say in your Cambridge essay, this essay will discuss blah, blah, blah. But in America, or like, I guess at least at my school, you're not allowed to say something like that. But it seems so odd why you wouldn't, because that's something that makes a lot of sense that the reader can like understand what you're going to say. But for some reason, we're not allowed to do that. But you are in Cambridge, so that's good.
That is odd, but why aren't you allowed to do that? Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, because like whenever I write a paper and I need an easy introduction, I go straight to this paper is about this and this.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? But
Yeah.
you have to come up with,
Yeah.
they call it a hook. So it's like you have to do
Oh.
this thing to draw the reader in.
I mean, I guess the other thing that I didn't get as much in high school, because I also took AP courses, and I took AP Euro, I took AP US history,
Me too.
and the way history is taught in those courses is you're supposed to remember a bunch of facts. Certain people will show up in the test, so you talk about them. It's a rapid fire historical overview of, I don't know, like what, 400 or 500 years of history over the course of a year. And whereas with Dr. Devlin's course, you're getting something really focused and narrow and in-depth. And I think you actually end up learning a lot more in that way, because you also get to learn about the broader historical narrative through focusing on something smaller. I don't know if that was your experience.
Yes, that's it, exactly.
Yeah.
Did not like AP Euro at all.
Maybe one more question I have, just to ask you a little bit more about your relationship, your experience with Dr. Devlin himself and your TA. How was sort of because how many students were in your course?
So there's only 3 of us.
Yeah.
One other girl from Florida. She's so sweet, and we're still friends.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and we have like a lot of similarities that we didn't know about, and then we were like introducing ourselves, and it turns out we're both Jewish. We both do like Jewish like outside school activities, and we both like journalism, and we like the same colleges, so that was really cool. And then there was another girl, I believe she was from Beijing, I want to say, and she didn't talk as much, I think, probably because of the language barrier. But when she did, she was so smart. And so it was just the 3 of us there, with Dr. Devlin and our TA. His name is Tame. He's so funny. um, and they're great, and you can ask any question you want, and they're really willing to support you in any way they can. And they often leave you time to ask questions. Dr. Devlin does it before and at the end, and Tame normally does it at the beginning. It's like a very different environment from high school, because there's a very small amount of people, and you really get all the attention you deserve, all the help that you can need. You can send them emails. You can it's really hard to put into words how helpful they are, because they're so helpful. And it's really, really great. And even over Zoom, it's like so cool.
That's incredible to hear, because I think a big worry with us when we host these programs is that they are on Zoom, and that's why we try to do our very best to create a personal experience. where you're actually can have space to make friends and to really have a mentorship and to be supported in this experience. And it's actually amazing to hear that you're still good friends with one of your classmates. Can I just ask what colleges you're looking to apply to?
Oh
Or
my, okay.
you can also choose not to answer that. That's
Oh,
also
that's fine.
perfectly
No.
yeah.
I have a very large list, which I definitely need to cut down.
Mm.
But my top schools right now, I think UCLA, Northwestern, NYU, Columbia. There's one more that I had. Oh, and U Chicago. I really like big
Oh
cities,
wow.
if you couldn't tell.
Yeah, fantastic. They're all super great schools. You're in high school, so I'm sure things will change. But currently, perhaps your college major aspirations and maybe even beyond. What are you looking to? You say you're interested in journalism and in international relations. What sort
Yeah.
of yeah?
So it depends maybe on the school. It's kind of, I have very odd plans, so I will explain. So Northwestern has a school of journalism called Medill School of Journalism, and they have this program called Medill on the Hill. So you go to DC, and obviously I haven't even applied there yet because I'm not a senior, but that sounds super cool. And so I'm sure any school with a journalism program has something like that. And so I'm looking into journalism. And then I also do a lot of theater. And I don't know if I want to study it or if I just want to maybe go into it like after college, because you don't have to like major in it to be like an actor. Um, so I also really like theater. I have also considered like more just like mass media stuff, like film. I think it's called film media. Um, or I'm also looking at political science, which seems like a lot of reading, but obviously I like politics, so be interesting reading. Um, but honestly, if there was something new that I found like the day before I went to college, I would probably look into it because there are so many interesting things to study, and really you can go into so many cool things.
Yeah, I can tell you personally that I had no idea that I was going to pursue a doctorate in philosophy when I was 17 years old. And I didn't even know what philosophy really was until I went to college. So once you get there, you'll come to learn about so many new majors. I mean, at my undergrad institution, there were majors like international visual and literary studies. That was the one that sort of blew my mind. It was what they did was they tried to do a version of international relations that focused more on the humanities rather than the social sciences. So what they wanted to do was create like a mirror program of the IR So I went to Tufts, and
Nice.
we have a very, very strong IR department. We're known for having the Fletcher School. So what the humanity faculties decided to do was create a program that for people who are more interested in film and literature and things like that. So that was super cool. I found out about that way too late. Otherwise, I probably would have majored in that. But yeah, all I'm trying to say is that the possibilities are endless, and I'm super excited for you actually to
Oh, thank you.
discover these things. Yeah.
You.
So are there any other questions that perhaps you or any other thing that you might want to share with us? It's been super fun to talk.
Yeah, I've had a really good time. I guess maybe one last thing, I guess if there's anybody watching this thinking about doing the program, definitely apply, even if you're not sure about it. It's so cool and you learn so much, and it's a great experience to have, and especially like right now when you can't really go anywhere, it is something to look forward to when you can like talk to people who might actually care about what you're learning instead of maybe in school they might not care, and you can always talk about it with your friends if you're like, look at me, I'm doing a course at Cambridge University, one of the best universities in the world, and then they're like, oh, that's so cool. And then, as I said before, one of my friends decided to apply for it for like this new time, and she got in, so you can always spread the word. I don't know.
What program is your friend doing currently?
The same one as me.
Okay, with Dr. Devlin.
Yeah, and so now we both love our teachers. Overall, I just think it's a great program. If you have the opportunity to do it, you should.
Thank you so much, Audrey. That's super sweet to hear, and it is really gratifying because we do try our best to deliver that. That's our goal, to create sort of a real in-depth learning experience that maybe you wouldn't be able to get in high school. And to hear that you've also managed to make sort of lasting friendships and have this really intimate mentorship experience, it's amazing to hear that.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. This has been great. Yay, podcast. Yeah.